Mountains may seem like lifeless giants at first glance. However, behind their formidable facades, they conceal a rich diversity of life, ancient artifacts, and even paranormal phenomena. In this video, I invite you to explore some of the most astonishing secrets of the high mountains. Enjoy the watch. Myrtle's Plantation, located in Louisiana, was built on an Indian burial ground in 1796 by General David Bradford. Initially, Bradford lived on the plantation alone, as he was hiding from justice for participating in the Whiskey Rebellion. When the general received a pardon, he moved his entire family there. After Bradford's death, the plantation was inherited by his wife. However, she struggled to manage everything on her own and transferred the property to her daughter's husband, Clark Woodruff. For a while, the family lived peacefully in their new home. Clark managed the plantation, and his wife took care of the children. However, everything changed after a servant named Chloe eavesdropped on Clark's conversation with his assistants. As punishment, he ordered one of her ears to be cut off. Chloe did not forgive this treatment, and one day added poison to a pie she prepared. However, the pie was not eaten by Clark, but by his family, resulting in the death of his wife and 2 daughters. Enraged, Clark vowed to kill all those involved, and when the frightened slaves revealed that Chloe had poisoned the pie, she was killed. Since then, many people claim to occasionally see the translucent silhouette of a girl in a green turban covering one ear. In 1992, someone even managed to photograph this spirit. Chloe's ghost is not the only specter at the plantation. It is believed that the souls of Clark Woodruff's 2 daughters and wife live in one of the mirrors in the Bradford house. Some people also talk about a bloodstain that periodically appears on the doorstep of the house and cannot be washed away. Myrtle's Plantation is one of the most mystical places in Louisiana, attracting thousands of tourists annually who wish to see the ghosts with their own eyes. On the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, at the foot of Mount Sinai, lies the oldest functioning Christian monastery, St. Catherine's Monastery, founded in the 4th century AD. Within its walls is a library containing originals of the most valuable historical manuscripts. For a long time, ancient books and manuscripts were simply stored in the monastery. But in 1734, under Archbishop Nikephoros, it was decided to create a library. Today, the library houses 3,304 manuscripts, 5,000 books, and about 1,700 scrolls. Among the most valuable are 12 pages of the oldest text of the Bible, a 5th century Syriac codex, 10 pages of the Gospel of Matthew in Greek, dating back to the 6th century, an 8th century Greek Gospel, and the 11th century Sinai Psalter. The majority of the manuscripts were written in Greek, with the remaining copies in Arabic, Syriac, Georgian, Armenian, Ethiopic, and Slavic languages. The library at St. Catherine's Monastery is recognized as the 2nd most important repository of ancient manuscripts, second only to the Vatican Library. Sometimes it's not archaeologists who discover the ruins of ancient structures. In 2020, while climbing the Ammertenhorn Peak in the Swiss Alps, a tourist accidentally found an ancient Roman bronze coin. He decided not to keep the artifact for himself and handed it over to the Archaeological Service of the Canton of Bern. Immediately after this, researchers began excavations at the place where the tourist had found the coin. The excavations were conducted at an altitude of over 2,500 meters above sea level. During the excavation, more than 100 ancient Roman coins dating from the 3rd century AD were found, along with several dozen mountain crystal pebbles, shoe nails, and a bronze leaf-shaped plaque. All these findings indicated that sacrifices were made at the mountain's summit, suggesting the possible presence of an ancient Roman temple or a pilgrimage site. While there is no direct evidence of the sanctuary's ruins yet, archaeologists remain hopeful of finding more proof to support their theory and continue excavations in the area. The surroundings of the ancient city of Antikythera are renowned for their prehistoric megaliths. This Spanish territory is rich in history, hence archaeologists regularly conduct excavations there. In 2023, near a mountain called the Sleeping Giant, researchers discovered a tomb over 5,000 years old. However, what was astonishing was not the presence of the tomb itself, but the way it was constructed. The structure was designed to direct the rays of the rising sun deep inside the chamber during the summer solstice. Some slabs were positioned at a specific angle to allow the sunlight to reach the farthest room. Additionally, archaeologists found a triangular stone resembling an arrow, which was also directed towards the rising sun. The tomb was constructed in 3000 BC. At that time, all the deceased were placed on a flat stone platform along with offerings, and then they were dropped onto the adjacent territory. 5 centuries later, the tomb was reconstructed, and niches for burying 2 individuals appeared inside it. Such niches were usually used for the burial of wealthy married couples. From 1950 to 1180 BC, the tomb was abandoned. This discovery provided information that even over 5,000 years ago, people observed the sun and were aware of the solstice. In 2023, scientists from the National Institute of Geology of Italy began studying underground waters in the Gela Formation, under the Hyblaean Mountains in Sicily. The research on the water reservoir, located at a depth of 700 to 2,500 meters below sea level, showed that it is about 7 million years old. The reservoir currently contains at least 17,500 cubic meters of water. This basin was formed as a result of the penetration of fresh water into the Earth's crust. The salinity crisis, caused by global cooling, also played a significant role in the formation of the reservoir. During that period, the salty waters of the Mediterranean Sea were literally trapped among the glaciers. Thus, cold rainwater that fell on the dried-up seabed penetrated deep underground, accumulating in porous carbonate rocks. This process lasted for about 700,000 years, so a real underground sea was formed inside the Gela Formation basin, only it was made of fresh water, not salt water. Now, Italian scientists are considering the possibility of extracting fresh water from this reservoir, which could help alleviate water shortages in Sicily. Pendle Hill is a picturesque green hill located in Lancashire, England. However, despite its beauty, this area is associated with mysticism, and locals call it the land of the witches. But why? The eerie story of Pendle Hill began in the 16th century. According to legend, an elderly woman named Elizabeth Southerns lived in one of the settlements at the foot of the hill. The locals considered Elizabeth to be a witch and nicknamed her Demdike. The old woman did no harm. On the contrary, she helped her neighbors by curing their illnesses with her potions. Elizabeth had a granddaughter named Allison, who begged for alms. One day she asked for charity from a man named Loie, but he refused, and in response, the girl cursed him. Perhaps it was a coincidence, or maybe not, but that very evening, Loie was paralyzed. The man accused Allison of witchcraft, and she, in turn, accused another family with whom she had recently quarreled. The court did not bother to find out who was right or wrong and executed 12 women from the village, accusing them of witchcraft. At that time, King James I had just introduced witch hunts, and these women became the first criminals to break the new law. Since then, locals near Pendle Hill have claimed to see ghosts and hear strange female screams. They believe all these paranormal activities are related to the witches who were executed during King James I's reign. In Guizhou Province, China, among the steep cliffs of Anshun, there lies a very eerie cave filled with hundreds of thousands of coffins. Thanks to drone footage, you can see that it has a huge area and is completely filled with coffins. To date, there are more than 500,000 coffins in it. If you thought this was just an installation by some modern artist or a dumping ground for coffin makers, you are mistaken. Among the indigenous people of this area, there has been a tradition since ancient times of placing coffins with the deceased in caves on high cliffs. When asked about the meaning of this custom, locals have differing opinions. Some believe their ancestors chose Anshun as a temporary settlement, trying to escape from war. Longing for their homeland troubled their hearts, and they hoped to return home one day. For this reason, people left the coffins in the cave rather than burying them in the ground. Other locals explained that the deceased are not buried in the ground because the area often experiences floods, and remains can only be preserved on high ground. According to a third version, coffins with the deceased are placed in the cave on high cliffs so that the deceased can be closer to the heavens. As you can see, there is no unanimous opinion as to why people from Anshun follow this tradition. Likely they are accustomed to this centuries-old custom and simply adhere to it without pondering its sacred meaning. The Guyaju Caves are among the most amazing and mysterious cave complexes in all of China. Despite being located near Beijing, they were only discovered in 1984 during a cultural relics survey. The caves are estimated to be between 1,000 and 2,000 years old. Who built Guyaju remains unknown. However, according to the most popular theory, the caves served as a home for the nomadic Kumoshi people. Some historians dispute this version, believing the Guyaju territory belonged to the Han dynasty. The Guyaju Caves area is divided into a front and rear gully, covering a total area of 1.5 square kilometers, with the cave cut area almost 4 square kilometers. A staircase more than 10 meters long leads into the dwellings. The complex includes between 117 and 170 separate chambers, divided into more than 350 rooms. On average, they are 180 centimeters high and cover an area of 4 square meters. Inside, archaeologists found carved stoves, chimneys, lampstands, and rainwater collection holes. The Guyaju Caves are China's largest rock-dwelling complex and are now open for tourists to visit. In the autumn of 2017, deer hunters in the mountains of the former Oppland County in Norway, at an altitude of over 1,600 meters above sea level, discovered a very valuable artifact, an ancient Viking sword. Its total length was almost 93 centimeters, and it weighed 1203 grams. The men decided to hand over their find to the University of Oslo for further research. Lichen spots were found on the sword, but it was otherwise well preserved. The weak corrosion process was likely due to the high mountain conditions. Most of the year, this area is covered in snow. When the snow begins to melt, strong winds blow in the mountains, preventing moisture from accumulating. All these factors inhibit corrosion processes, so the sword was found in good condition. Experts from the University of Oslo were able to determine the age of the weapon through dating. The sword's guard was created between the years 800 and 850 AD, and the pommel was dated to 850, 950 AD. This indicated that the sword was literally assembled from elements of 2 different weapons. Now, scientists from the University of Oslo have no doubts that the weapon is an ancient Viking artifact. However, it remains unknown under what circumstances the sword ended up at such a high altitude. According to some versions, its owner got caught in a severe blizzard and died from hypothermia during it. Tavsanli Mound is located in the Aegean region of Turkey. This site is a real treasure trove of archaeological artifacts, as humans first settled there during the Neolithic period. However, most of the remains found belong to the Bronze Age. One of the most astonishing discoveries in the Tavsanli Mound was human remains with preserved skin and brain. Undoubtedly, this is a very valuable archaeological discovery, as soft tissues and the brain usually undergo natural decomposition processes. Scientists from Bilecik Edebali University took on the task of studying the remains. They determined that the remains belonged to a young person aged between 15 and 18 years, and a man aged 45 years. The remains are dated to 1700 BC. But how is it that the skin and brain of these individuals have been preserved for over 3,700 years? Scientists explain this through the process of carbonization, where intense heating or compression saturates a substance with carbon, preventing it from decomposing. It's likely that these two individuals were fleeing an attack on the city, but perished during a severe fire. Since they were in some sort of shelter, they were not burnt, but the high temperature and toxic smoke killed them, preserving their skin and brain for thousands of years. In the summer of 2019, a tourist in the Norwegian mountains near the Horse Ice Patch noticed several items sticking out from under the ice. Among them was a sandal that appeared very ancient. The tourist immediately contacted an organization called Secrets of the Ice, which studies various artifacts long hidden in eternal ice. Archaeologists quickly organized an expedition to the Horse Ice Patch area. Upon arrival, they confirmed that the item was indeed a sandal. Besides the footwear, they also found horse manure, fabrics, arrow shafts, and other artifacts in the area. All the discovered items were taken to a scientific laboratory for analysis by specialists. Scientists recently published a report with the research results, revealing that the sandal is about 1,500 to 1,800 years old. It likely belonged to an ancient Roman, as similar footwear was manufactured in that empire. The fabrics were also dated to the same period as the sandal. The items found near the Horse Ice Patch are not just valuable ancient artifacts. They primarily indicate that in ancient times this territory was a passageway. Experts believe that it once was part of a trade route. The lifespan of trees is measured in hundreds of years, and the age of some can exceed a millennium. The oldest tree in Europe is known to be a Bosnian pine named Italus. This tree began its life in the year 789 AD, which means it is 1235 years old. Italus grows in the territory of the modern Italian national park Pollino in the south of the country. The age of the tree was determined by the standard method of annual rings, as well as by radiocarbon analysis. This pine's height is 85 meters, and its trunk diameter reaches 2 meters. The area where Italus grows is characterized by frequent periods of drought. But despite this, the tree has adapted well to life in such conditions and continues to grow. This pine impresses with its size and majesty. Thousands of tourists from around the world come to Pollino to feel like tiny creatures next to this giant. Just imagine, this tree is so old that it witnessed the era when Vikings first began their attempts to conquer the shores of England. Italus is the oldest tree in Europe, but the world's oldest tree grows in California and is 5,000 years old. Nearly 50 years ago, a Nicaraguan man named Alberto Gutierrez Giron chose to live a solitary life amidst nature. According to him, he made this decision after the start of the revolution in 1979. He refused to participate in the bloodshed and preferred to live in peace among the forests and mountains. When Alberto was 9 years old, he had a strange dream in which he was an adult man, carving and painting a huge rock. One day, he remembered this vision and decided to bring it to life. He went to Tisay Estanzuela Park, and there he saw a giant rock that resembled the one he had seen in his dream. Then, Alberto began to transform the rock into a true work of art. He dedicated 3 hours daily to work on his masterpiece. For convenience, he built a cabin near the elevation, where he still lives to this day. Now, the mountain looks like an eclectic sculpture with numerous different images of animals and people. Thanks to his masterpiece and hermit lifestyle, Alberto has become a local attraction. People from all over the world come to visit him, to chat and admire the giant rock with his sculptures. Scientists' interest in the Bosnian pyramids only arose in 2005, after amateur archaeologist Samir Osmanagic claimed that 5 hills located near the Bosnian town of Visoko were analogous to Egyptian pyramids. Until that point, it was believed that there were no pyramids in Europe at all. Naturally, Samir Osmanagic's statement was met with harsh criticism, especially from geologists who were convinced that the hills were natural formations. However, the archaeologist insisted he was right and, along with his team, began excavations in the area. During the investigation, Osmanagic announced that the largest hill was made of huge stone blocks. At its base was a pathway paved with cobblestones, and many steps led to its summit. Moreover, the archaeologist managed to determine that all 5 hills were connected by underground tunnels. Osmanagic concluded that the Bosnian pyramids were built by an ancient unknown civilization in honor of the sun, the moon, and the dragon god. However, scientists were quick to present their research on the hills. Geologists explained that the amateur archaeologist mistook sandstones, which were damaged by tectonic plate movements, for construction blocks. The hill's shape indeed resembles a pyramid, but similar pointed hills occur naturally. Since opinions about the Bosnian pyramids have diverged greatly, these hills remain on the list of the most mysterious objects on our planet. Bangar Fort is one of the most mysterious and mystical structures in India, located in Rajasthan, in the northwestern part of the country. It was founded in the 17th century during the time of Maharaja Bhagwant Das and served as the residence for his second son, Madho Singh. For several decades, the fort thrived. Its inhabitants were very happy and lived in prosperity, but one day, they all vanished without a trace. Since no attacks on the fort are historically known, the disappearance of the people began to be associated with mysticism. There are 2 versions of what happened. According to the first version, Bangar was rapidly developing. The height of some structures was record-breaking, which displeased the sage Baba Balau Nath, so he ordered the fort to be destroyed. According to the second, most popular version, Bangar was cursed by a black magician. One day, upon meeting Princess Ratnavati at the local market, he fell deeply in love with her and replaced her perfume with a love potion. However, the princess learned of the deception and smashed the potion bottle against a huge boulder. The stone rolled directly onto the magician. Before dying, he cursed the princess and the entire fort. Since then, locals say that Bangar is cursed and inhabited by many ghosts. This is not just an urban legend. The Indian authorities truly believe in evil spirits, so they strictly prohibit tourists from visiting the fort after sunset. In the southern Peruvian Andes, a team of American archaeologists from the University of Maine made a sensational discovery. At an altitude of over 4,500 meters, researchers found traces of the oldest Highland settlement, dating back about 12,500 years. Previously, it was assumed that humans began to settle at high altitudes in the mountains less than 11,500 years ago. However, this finding forced scientists to admit they were wrong by 1,000 years. At the site of the ancient settlement, 260 different tools were found, including spear tips, chisels, and scrapers. Most of them were made of obsidian, andesite, and jasper. The primary shelter for the first settlers was the Kunkecha Cave, located at an altitude of about 4,480 meters above sea level. Despite the harsh high mountain climate, primitive hunter-gatherers adapted to life in this territory. Initially, they hunted wild animals, but later, their descendants began to domesticate alpacas and llamas. The discovery of the oldest settlement in the Peruvian Andes was an important finding for anthropology, as it helped scientists to study in more detail the stages of human life evolution in extreme high mountain conditions. Near the town of Afton, by Swift Creek in Wyoming, flows an unusual stream known as Intermittent Spring. The water in this stream flows continuously for 15 minutes, then stops for an equal amount of time before the cycle restarts. Naturally, this marvel draws the attention of not just tourists, but also scientists who have long been trying to unravel the mystery of this stream. To this day, the exact reason why the water body does not flow continuously remains unknown. However, experts believe that this phenomenon is due to a siphon effect. According to this hypothesis, an underground cave contains a continuous source of the stream's flow, with the exit of this cave being a narrow pipe whose highest point is above the stream's surface. When the water level reaches its maximum mark, a siphon effect occurs. In other words, once the flow exiting the cave weakens, air enters the pipe, preventing the flow from exiting. At this moment, the stream stops flowing. Gradually, water accumulates in the cave until its force is sufficient to burst out again and refill the stream. Scientists consider this hypothesis the only explanation for the stream's intermittent flow. The Magician Grottoes, located in Gansu Province, China, are an amazing man-made masterpiece. It is a Buddhist sacred complex that contains 7,000 sculptures and 1,000 square meters of murals carved into a 142-meter-high cliff. The history of Magician dates back to the 5th century AD, when the first niches, caves, and sculptures began to appear in the rock. 12 Chinese dynasties participated in the creation of this powerful art piece, so it preserves the culture and beliefs of many generations of Buddhist monks and craftsmen. There are 194 hand-carved caves in Magician, connected by balconies and staircases. Therefore, if you decide to visit this place, be prepared to overcome your fear of heights. Inside the caves, there are clay and stone sculptures, as well as various murals. Some sculptures were brought to the cliff, but most of them were carved into the mountain rock itself. The tallest among them is a 16-meter-high statue of Buddha. Besides sculptures and murals, the grottos contain a large number of bronze, ceramics, and jade items, as well as books, paintings, and various ancient documents. Looking at the cliff, one can notice that it is split into two parts. This crack was caused by a serious earthquake. Fortunately, the complex survived, and tourists can continue to marvel at the grandeur and beauty of Magician. The Chachapoyas culture existed in Peru from the 5th to the 15th century AD. Their settlements were located in the territory of the modern Amazonas department in northern Peru. The Chachapoyas called themselves warriors of the clouds. Their origin remains unknown to this day. Historians speculate that their ancestors might have been representatives of the Tiwanaku and Wari cultures, who came to the Amazon Andes to expand their territories. This is suggested by the architectural features of the Chachapoyas and their lighter skin compared to other Amazonian civilizations. Thanks to Spanish chroniclers, it is known that the Chachapoyas indeed differed from their neighbors. They wore clothing, herded sheep, built temples, and engaged in the production of textiles and carpets. These people constructed incredibly beautiful structures, often in very inaccessible places at great heights. For example, the sanctuary necropolis of Cuelap is located at an altitude of over 3,000 meters above sea level. The Chachapoyas were a peaceful people and almost lacked military skills. The Incas took advantage of this during the reign of Emperor Tupac Inca Yupanqui, conducting regular attacks on Chachapoyas settlements and killing them with particular cruelty. Hoping for salvation, the Chachapoyas allied themselves with the Spaniards, but this decision led to the final disappearance of their culture. The colonizers did not plan to leave any civilization in Peru, and moreover, they brought diseases to which the Chachapoyas had no immunity. Archaeological excavations in the Chachapoya settlements have been ongoing for a long time. Researchers have discovered many valuable artifacts. During the excavations, mummies were also found, which helped scientists learn about the burial rites of the Chachapoyas. There is a theory that Norwegian artist Edvard Munch created his world-famous painting The Scream, inspired by a Chachapoyas mummy after visiting the World Exhibition in Paris in 1889. And that's all from me. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Your activity is the best reward for me. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Bye.